All right, now we are online. So I will start introducing in Portuguese, Ashley, as I said. Para o pessoal que está assistindo aqui, essa live é uma live diferente do comum, por isso ela vai ser em inglês, e a gente vai ter o apoio aqui do Abel, da The Camp, que vai fazer essa tradução ao vivo para vocês, né? Obrigado, Abel, por aceitar o desafio aí. E vamos começar aqui, né? So, let's start. Can you hear me, Ashley? Everything okay?
Yes, phenomenal to be here. Thanks for having me, Rodrigo.
Good. Today's guest, Ashley Galina, founder of ChoZan and Alarice in China. She's a China marketing expert, best-selling author, and LinkedIn top voice in marketing 2019. Today, we're going to talk about China, modern Chinese consumers, what's happened with the whole coronavirus outbreak, and how to manage our marketing team plans, and essentially prepare to the recovery. Ashley, as you say, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. First of all, for people who are not familiar with you, can you explain in 20 seconds what do you do, what's your main focus on China?
Right. So for the past 15 years, I've been in the greater China market, and my focus is really understanding the local Chinese consumers, understanding how can businesses market and sell to them. And this has been the centerpiece of everything that I do. I have one company that does marketing in China, and then the other company that does strategy, consulting, and also education for internal teams. So in the past 5-6 years, we've worked with very big companies and very small companies that are tapping into China. For big companies can be like Coca-Cola, and really small companies can be really startup businesses going into the market. So China right now in 2020 is very important. And I think after the outbreak, after coronavirus, it's becoming even more important for those that want to have international global strategy around the world. This is the market to grow.
Really nice, really nice. It's really good to have you from China. Are you on, what time is on Hong Kong now?
Well, it's 8 a.m. right now, so it's not too bad speaking with your part of the world.
Right, it's good, it's good. So could you tell me a little bit more about the current situation of the pandemic in China? How was the pandemic changed this consumer behaviors, and what are the biggest consequences on this crisis, in your opinion?
Right. So in China, the pandemic started obviously the earliest. So we have started seeing countries shutting down one way or another in January. And then February, March were really difficult months. By now, by May, end of May, we actually see a lot of big cities almost back to normal. Where, what do we mean by back to normal? People feel probably not 100%, but the facilities are open, the government is operating, the businesses are operating, etc. So right now, if we talk about big cities, then we see a lot of people on the streets. We see people queuing up for restaurants. We see a lot of e-vouchers, for example, given by the government to stimulate consumption. So it feels like the life is where, or very close to where it was before. But if we look at lower tier cities, we see also that a lot of people, obviously, in the past quarter have also lost their jobs. And maybe they did not lose their job, but they had to live off their savings. Because in China, a lot of people essentially are migrant workers. So I was born in a tiny little village A, but I go to a bigger city B to actually make a living. So during this pandemic, they could not really travel, and it was a time of Chinese New Year. So many of them actually went back home. They couldn't get back to the factory. Besides that, factories were closed. So either people in lower tier cities, it means in this kind of less prosperous cities in China and smaller cities in China, either lost their job for a period of time, or they had to just live off their savings to support themselves for, let's say, 3 months. So these guys have tighter budgets right now. And although the cities are open, but the consumption is also changing. It's downgrading a little bit. So in higher tier cities, we see a little bit of upgrade of consumption because people are tired. They want to go out. They want to spend money. They are tired of lockdown. But in lower tier cities, they are tightening up their budgets as well.
Nice. So these people is not it's like lockdown don't, it's inside their homes, right? And about these traditional segments, such as restaurants, they had to reinvent themselves to deal with this crisis. And how about this competitivity in delivery?
Absolutely. So everybody had to reinvent themselves. And I'm sure you've seen the joke. It's actually an international joke, which says,
Right.
who digitalized my company? And then there was CEO, CMO, and then there was coronavirus. So coronavirus is the one that digitalized the company. The same thing happened in China. China was already in many aspects of digitalization ahead of the world.
Just a moment, Ashley. Something said is not online on YouTube. Just a moment. Let me see here. Is not.
Estão com problema na live do YouTube, mas estão live no Facebook.
Ah, tá. Vou colocar o link. Okay. Just put this link on to YouTube to guys see on the Facebook. All right. Sorry for. Can you?
So we can go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
That's right. So a lot of businesses, of course, had to reinvent themselves. And digitalization, while China was already in many aspects ahead of the world, a lot of the digitalization push came also in traditional sectors. For example, education. In China, education was not really done online. Right now, it is, plus with a lot of AI and cool kind of features. For example, remote work. In China back then, there was no concept of working from home. Right now, a lot of people are working. And also there were a lot of traditional businesses, such as, for example, a segment of shopping, which is grocery shopping or fresh vegetables shopping. Everybody was going to wet market, to farmers market to buy every single day, because people that bought it were slightly older, 55 years old up, and they really didn't want to buy it online. Well, this epidemic forced them. So when we talk about restaurant, that was another industry that was very, very traditional, obviously, because it is an offline location and a little bit of delivery here and there. But during the epidemic, first of all, a lot of people had to reinvent how are they running their business, because they either couldn't get deliveries like supply, or they couldn't really manage their employees. There were no people, Many started live streaming, which was very, very cool. Essentially, they would ask a chef to come in at work like every single day. And the chef from morning to evening would just cook the dishes in a restaurant.
Right, cool.
Through a live streaming link, you're showing people how to cook this food, and you will be selling through delivery, not the food itself. Sometimes you sell the food, but sometimes you will sell the pre-prepared pack of, let's say, noodles, or pre-prepared pack of fried vegetables. And people will buy this chopped kind of veg. It will be delivered home, and then they will follow the chef to fry it and actually to use it. So we saw that a lot, and people absolutely loved it. Right now, just last week, I was publishing also on my LinkedIn, even the small stores that used to sell dandan noodles on the street in Guangzhou, even they have a queue outside, but they have a huge light circle, and they are selling primarily their dandan noodles through live streaming. So there are 5 guys that are waiting here, the delivery guys. They take noodles to live streaming audiences, and then there are 20 people standing on the other side to buy it live, and they go, one for you, one for you, one for you, one for you. And this never happened before Corona.
Right, it's really nice. And when you talk about this live, I saw one video, and you talk about that, the live streaming on e-commerce. So this small business are using this on like a reality from there. And just let me know about this. How does this live streaming works on online e-commerce, for example, or other stores? This is still starting this like for how many times is on China, and this grow on this pandemic now, right?
Right. It has grown a lot. So live streaming was in China for a while, and people were actually very active with it. But after pandemic, literally everything was live. For example, museums would create live streaming of the employee walking around the museum and telling them stories and showing them artifacts. So museums went live every single day. As I said, restaurants went live. Obviously, bloggers were live. Even city governments went live. For example, I believe it was about 2 months ago when nearby cities around Wuhan started opening up. And the mayors of 13 Chinese cities hopped on a live stream together with bloggers to sell the products from their area. For example, I remember watching that one specific live stream of a guy who was selling development, so basically apartments, who was selling some snacks, some tea, all these different things coming from his city. And a lot of people across the country, across China, were actually watching and buying, because by buying it, you are supporting local economy in these cities that were hit the most around Wuhan. So even government employees, the guys that really don't look very photogenic, the guys that really don't do it for living, they went and they did live streams. Talking about the digitalization in general, for example, we know that during the pandemic on Taobao, China's e-commerce platform, there were 30,000, if I'm not mistaken, 30,000 stores, new stores being opened every single day. That's a lot of stores. There were more than 1 million live streams happening in the first quarter. That's also government stats. And of course, this whole speed basically moved closer. So where do we launch live streaming? In China, it's not only on social media. It's not only like Instagram, right? So China's version of Instagram or something. It's not just through social e-commerce. Though you can launch live streaming on Douyin, on WeChat, on Weibo, you can basically launch live stream on every single major social media platform. And that social media platform has a link to e-commerce checkout. But most of live streams are actually happening on e-commerce platforms, not social media platforms. For example, like Taobao, right? Or Tmall. These are one is a local version and slightly lower tier version. The other one is more upscale version of Alibaba's ecosystem e-commerce checkout. So they have their Taobao Live. And it's a very elaborate system with bloggers and companies being able to live stream. During the pandemic, they allowed people to actually register this live streaming function with a lot less restrictions. For example, before I had to have a certain amount of followers, I had to have certain amount of products, certain amount of sales in order to open live streaming. But during the pandemic, they said, you know what? The requirements are super easy to reach. Just open your live streaming function. Just go, just talk to your audiences. And a lot of people did. Then we look at, for example, JD. Same thing. They also have their e-commerce function. JD is another platform in China where you do sales. So a lot of it is happening again on e-commerce platforms.
All right. I think this is not happening in Brazil at the moment. There is no
soon.
Yeah, maybe soon. I guess this will coming. This is coming. And you tell about some platforms on China, and I would like to know about the social media. Like in Brazil, the most familiar is LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcast, and TikTok as well is growing fast. In China, this social media works well, or there is another one? How many social medias there? Platforms in China?
In China right now, if we look at the whole market, there are more than 60 different platforms. And these platforms are unique to the market. So you will not find them anywhere outside of mainland China, many of them. And of course, there are about 5 to 8 major social media platforms. And only one of them is international. So LinkedIn is the only Western platform that has not been basically that is allowed to operate also within China borders. But a lot of people don't know that the Western LinkedIn and Chinese LinkedIn are actually two different versions, and they are not exactly the same. So there's a link between them, but they are not exactly the same. The servers are different, the algorithms are different. For example, if you publish video, it can be seen on the Western version, but it cannot be seen on the Chinese version, etc. So people do not understand that these are still slightly different apps carrying the same name, but everything else is unique. So we have Weibo, which is microblogging. It is all about community. It's all about news. It's all about a little bit of gossip. It's all about bloggers. We have WeChat, which is truly not a social media, which is really an operating system for life. It has the wallet. It has the mini programs that are like mini apps within an app. This is the app that helps you. For example, you can even get a divorce on WeChat. Literally, you can come and you shake your phone together with your spouse, and because all of your information about who you are, your facial recognition, your IDs are already there. So you go into a certain tab, you shake the phone, and basically you applied for divorce. 1 month later, you come to the government department, you can get your papers. Just a couple of days ago, that was the Chinese Valentine's Day, which was the 20th of May, and a lot of people got married. So on that day, there was also an announcement that in China right now, very soon, you will be able to even get married through purely scanning your face. So you go to the...
Yes, let me know. I'm engaged, So I would like to marry this year as well. How I can do this online? Let me know. Explain this.
Well, I don't think it's open for foreigners yet. But if your wife is by any chance Chinese, then maybe you have a chance. But essentially, you enter the booth, right, in this government department. You both scan your faces, and then you pick up automatically your marriage certificate. So this is very cool, don't you think? So there's this WeChat that is literally not an app, and a lot of people still feel that, oh, this is just a WhatsApp. No, it's a lot more than that. And of course, there is Douyin, in the West, it's called TikTok, right? One of the companies that's Chinese and then went really, really popular internationally. So it's very smart because Douyin belongs to ByteDance, and ByteDance runs a lot of things on AI. So they have smart algorithms, and literally, if ByteDance ever goes public, I mean, I'm buying their stocks because all of their social media platforms, be it videos, be it news digests, etc., they are very, very smart. They're not giving you tags like, oh, Ashley likes dogs, oh, Ashley is a girl. It doesn't give you tags because tags are stupid, but it actually real time creates your experience and constantly learns from you and about you. So it's great. Then we have all the platforms like Zhihu, for example, which is more like Quora, Q&A. Then there are Douban, where you discuss the movies, or you discuss all sorts of books, etc. So in China, when you talk, there are platforms that specifically focus on gaming, etc., etc. So a lot of platforms out there. It's a very unique ecosystem, but it's also very fun to work with.
Right, really nice. This part of entertainment, I think the people are looking for this kind of industry. How was effective the strategies in current? Oh, there's some police here. In current, what's this strategy from overcome the problems of social distracting? I watched some videos about you talking about virtual clubbing, virtual party, dancing. How is that working there?
Right. So indeed, the market became very innovative the moment the lockdown happened. People, I think because, again, it started in China, the whole outbreak, people started innovating those things in China. But right now, many of those things were actually adapted in the rest of the world. So virtual clubbing is a really cool idea. It started with one club in Shanghai, if I'm not mistaken, and they essentially said, guys, we're going to sell tickets for this virtual party. So you need to purchase a ticket. Then you go online. Then you are essentially in this online setting. You can choose which DJ do you want to hear. So there are, let's say, 5 DJs. They are also sitting at home and they are playing live. So you say, you know what, I'm in the mood for this. So you switch on, you join that clubbing area, and the music is playing, and then you have your camera on, you start dancing, and you see other people dancing, and you can order drinks. Either you order them via delivery, right? You can order snacks and drinks via delivery, or you can actually have your own kind of drink right there. And if you liked someone right there on the screen, somebody's dancing next, you can also go and meet them. So you can say, hey, I love, so it's literally bringing that clubbing experience online. And a lot of people were really, really bored. And a lot of people were looking for this kind of entertainment. So that one club in one night, I don't remember the numbers exactly, but I think they made around 1 million RMB, and then it blew up. Everybody wanted to have a digital party and online clubbing, and a lot of platforms adopted it as a monthly thing or a weekly thing. So right now it stayed, even though clubs are open, offline locations are open, but people are still doing online clubbing.
Right. This is really nice. They pay for that or it's free?
Of course.
They
It's
a
just like with
business.
museums. I told you, there are also some like virtual museum tours. Some of them you don't pay. So you just join because you're stuck at home or you're bored or you really still don't feel very comfortable traveling, etc. So you join it, it's free, but they take you on this tour. At the end of the tour, they bring you to the shop. We've all been on a package tour, right? Where you cannot exit without a shop. So when they walk you through this experience, they constantly sell you different things, souvenirs, here is a fan. Do you want to have exactly the same fan? We have it. And here's a link on Taobao. So there is a way for you to sell to them, even if it's not a paid one. But there are museums that take you on the tour around, let's say, a palace within China, and they actually charge you money for that, for the ticket, entrance ticket. There will be still selling, but there will be a lot less selling. So then you can choose, do you want the kind of a free access with a lot of plugs, or do you want to pay for it and essentially get a probably more pleasant experience? And right now, if you think that these are only Chinese museums that are doing that, no. Just recently, a Russian Hermitage museum from St. Petersburg also joined it. I believe that a British museum in London, the British Museum with all the Egyptian collections, etc., they are also on it. So it now becomes an international thing as less and less Chinese tourists are traveling at this particular moment. More museums are being creative.
Right, really nice, really nice. And the people here on comments are asking you if these clubs online will remain after the pandemic, or it's maybe be a crazy experience. Yeah,
absolutely. They are remaining. They are staying, right, because again, people can go to clubs, but they experience something so fun, right, that they feel, okay, when I really need to be physically there, I can go, but I really like this new digital experience and let me keep it. And I believe it is JD. It might be Pinduoduo, but I think it is a JD, the platform in China, that actually now organizes these virtual clubs every single month. So you can go to a JD virtual club party, for instance.
Right, good. It's really creative. I think this is still going. This came to Brazil as well. So this is it's a positive difference, like this on this company. There's some other kind of companies, is some difference, some examples like this to this small business is Chinese market that's differentiable like this.
You mean somebody who really pushed digitalization to the next level?
Yeah, some other kind of company, just not, as you said, it's not just the huge companies, the small companies starting doing this. So how does this Brazilian can be smart like this to create something new? Like this is a smart
right
thing.
So right now it's not only for really big companies, even small ones. For example, there's a lot of brands of cosmetics in China, local Chinese brands, that previously most of their let's say operations and sales were offline, so 70% offline, 30% online. So after this pandemic, basically what people had to do is again bring that live streaming element to life and beef it up like 100%. So many, and I can give you numbers from a Chinese specific brand of skincare, which is called Lin Qianxuan. So for them, for instance, 90% of offline sales dropped, and they had to literally go and recapture that traffic online. So what they did is, number one, regular live shows on more than 5 platforms. Secondly, they also invited their CEO, and that happens a lot in companies big and small. The CEO now puts his or her face in front of the audience to talk about the business. So to basically sell their product and say why is it really, really good. And at the same time, they essentially reached an outstanding performance. They had 145% of their sales last year. So they outperformed, even during the pandemic, they outperformed their last year's numbers. And all that was done, again, you need to have a consistent showing up strategy, right? You need to show up consistency. For example, a lot of hotels, they are empty. But what do? People actually started asking their employees from the kitchen, employees from the, I do not know, housekeeping department, to start live streaming. So entertain people during the day, during the pandemic, etc. And right now, fewer people travel. And sell, for instance, okay, you cannot come to a hotel, but you can sell them high tea set. And you can, you can turn it into a daily show. Right now, for instance, a lot of offline events in China has actually restarted. So we see a lot of expos being back. So an expo for, I do not know, underwear producers, an expo for, a certain type of plums being produced in a certain province. And you will see that previously these were very crowded events and everybody was looking for this one-on-one interaction with distributors, etc. Right now, there still are people and they're still coming physically, but there are 2 or 3 phones and 2 or 3 light rings, and people are live streaming and broadcasting to to audiences online. So even expos, even B2B business is somehow moving into this new area. So look at the business that you are in and just see, how can I utilize those 60 platforms? You don't need to be on all 60, but probably 3 major platforms. How can I utilize their live streaming features? How can I really be special? Can I bring my CEO? Can I bring my staff to talk about the product? How can I make it close to the market and bring it back home? And then just go for it.
So live streaming is the way, yeah? To start with live streaming.
Live streaming is the way, but you need to be consistent. A lot of people, when they think about live streaming, they think, yeah, I'm going to go live one time and then something is going to happen. No, you need to do it for 30, 60 or 90 days every single day.
Every single day.
And it's not on one platform. So probably you've seen those videos or those pictures of a person sitting there looking at the screen, and there are like 20 phones live streaming. You do it on different platforms from different accounts. So you need to kickstart with the right strategy, and you need to be consistent, and you will, as long as you have a great product and as long as you have the right angle, you will have audiences, and the chances to sell, especially right now, have never been higher, because we have new audience, the older people that were not buying through live stream, now buying through live stream. We have new products that were not sold via live streams, right now being sold via live streams. And we have platforms that previously did not have live stream functions, or it was not very developed, that are right now very, very developed.
Very good, very good. There's some tips from these companies. As you said, 9% lost offline, then go online. And this Chinese market consumption at this moment is still in a big trouble. Are they recovering this crisis? Do you think they are already recovering, or this is a new normal? What do you think?
Right. So in terms of consumption, we need to see which city are we talking about. In general, if it is bigger city like Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, etc., definitely the consumption is almost where it was before. We can actually see a lot of news out there talking about luxury consumption. There are a lot of queues outside of supermarkets, outside of department stores, and outside of luxury brands. So consumption in bigger cities is very close to normal, but people are also changing some of the categories that they buy. For example, when it comes to mother and baby, Everybody wants to upgrade their consumption, make it even more safe for the child. Everybody wants to buy a car because they still feel that if you have a private car and you have a small baby, it's better, right, to use rather than a public taxi. But when it comes to lower tier cities, as I mentioned, they go through a downgrade of consumption. So they, for example, prefer group buying a lot more. So they want to buy something in a bulk with a big discount. And we see that happening. In general, what really helped is, first of all, the fact that Chinese are extremely optimistic nation. In the past 30, 35 years, they've seen the whole economy, the whole country growing and developing rapidly. So the expectation of the consumers, the expectation of the government, and the expectation of businesses is very positive and optimistic. So that helps consumer sentiment. Secondly, what really helped was the fact that China reacted to this crisis rather quickly, and essentially it moved past this big breakout within 2 to 3 months. So people had confidence in it. Number 3, government also gave e-vouchers. For example, in Hangzhou, they gave millions of, if I'm not mistaken, it's 1.7 billion RMB in vouchers that just the city of Hangzhou gave to their citizens. And how does it work? It means, for instance, I want to purchase a new mobile phone. So I will go register myself through WeChat as I need subsidy to purchase an iPhone. And there will be a category, category food, category clothes, category iPhone, category car. It can be anything I want to purchase. So I go to this category phone, and the government will tell me, okay, for a phone of this price, the government subsidy is maximum 500 RMB. Or if I purchase a car, the subsidy can be 2,000 RMB. Or if I go to a restaurant, it can be just 30 RMB. So what I do is I claim the voucher. So this e-voucher is given to me on my mobile device. And when I go to a physical store or online store to actually complete my purchase of an iPhone, I can input the code. And this is a discount that I'm getting on the price, and the government will pay on my behalf to the seller. So these e-vouchers, we see that around 40 to 50% of those e-vouchers claimed by people were actually used within 4 days of them claiming it. And it's not just Hangzhou, not just one city that actually introduced something like that. It was a lot of cities introducing support measures for businesses, for example, lower tax, lower rent, or forgiven rent, like you don't need to pay rent at all, etc., etc., etc. Plus, local governments supported consumption. They said, hey, guys, we're going to give you those subsidies. And as I said, number 3, this digitalization, when even mayors of the city, when even, bloggers and whoever else, they were live streaming to support local economy. So all that really, really helped. Consumption is definitely recovering. It is not 100% what it was before. The mindset has changed. Right now, most of consumers in China really care about safety and security and health. So these are 3 very important themes. And if your product is somehow falling into these 3, it definitely has a lot more kind of appeal right now. But in general, yes, it's been very positive measures and positive things coming together.
All right, the government is really good, and the companies as well is helping these people there. There's more 2 questions here from these guys, and I will ask you just one at the moment. So, do you think the business are going to expand their reach or even internationalize due to this need to go online, like a further reaching model? It's a question from Diego.
Absolutely, Diego. So businesses are going to absolutely go more digital. They're going to expand. They're going to reinvent their business models. I'll give you an example. Cinemas, their business model is very straightforward. You have a venue and you show a movie. So during the pandemic, they actually didn't have an opportunity to run their business. So they started selling snacks. You are sitting at home and you can buy popcorn or Coke or whatever other snacks from your favorite movie. So you can stream a movie and eat something from and that stays. They will continue selling that. So a lot of people reinvented their business models. A lot of also supply chains collapsed and became even closer together. So if previously, for example, if you had a apple farm in Hainan and you wanted to sell it to China, you had this distributor in the middle. Then after the pandemic, you have a farm, you go to live streaming platforms, so you have bloggers and you have your own kind of team on the ground of other farmers that are happy to talk about this experience, and then you sell directly to consumers. So a lot of things, business models, and as I said, supply chains are definitely going to change. In terms of globalization, I would say it's very important to understand that because Chinese local companies supported people during the pandemic a lot more than Western companies, there's also a very strong nationalistic and pride movement, which says buy local, buy Chinese, right? And, we cannot blame them because, very often you see indeed a lot more support from local companies, that are giving back to community. And this is happening around the world, everywhere. So these companies, Chinese brands, China first, is going to be a theme of 2020 and maybe 2021. And of course, this will create even stronger Chinese brands, not only in electronics and mobile phones and, a couple of social media platforms like TikTok, but it will create stronger brands, for example, with clothing or skincare or whatever else. And these brands will definitely go internationally going forward. In terms of other let's say e-commerce giants like JD, like Pinduoduo, like Alibaba, etc. They have already been international. And of course, through this pandemic, they reach internationally and reach into global markets and play on their advantages of having that ecosystem, having the data management system, etc., even stronger. So they are definitely big winners of this whole situation. And I personally, again, see the development of this market is we're going to see a lot more Chinese brands in a variety of industries going global in the next 3 to 5 years.
Right. Good. Camila asked another question here. It's a good question, Camila. Thanks for you're asking us. This is about these platforms. Let us know a bit more about these platforms, because this company is going to sell online. Just need to have an account on these platforms, or they are doing to create your website and make it this Google ads. How does it work? This paying for like a percent from that, or pay what? Or
right?
How does it work from these online platforms?
Right. So in order to sell in China, obviously you need to be registered. And if you have a business registration in China itself, you will have opportunity to sell on more platforms. Because, for example, as I said, there is Tmall, right?
Like a marketplace, yeah. Sorry.
Tmall Global, for instance, this is a e-commerce site, and then there is Taobao. So Taobao is only for local market. If you have a Chinese business registration number, you can sell on this platform. But on Tmall Global, you can sell with your Western business registration number. So what if you don't have a business registered in China, you can do cross-border e-commerce, meaning you need to register on one of these platforms. There is JD Worldwide, there is Tmall Global. You can also choose not to register and just do it through bloggers. You find a couple of bloggers on various platforms. They have permission to sell, etc. You give them your product. You say, here, I have an awesome pen and I would like to sell it and we can make a lot of money together. They say, okay, so you pay them for two things. You pay a blogger for live streaming. So you pay them a fee to actually run, let's say, live stream. And then you pay them a huge commission on sale.
Yeah.
So they are the guys that are really, really winning. But the blogger who launches this live stream, they also pay a portion of their earnings to the platform, of course, where they're launching the live stream. So if you choose to run your own cross-border e-commerce, then I will always recommend to check whether there is demand for your product, because it takes a lot of money, for around $50,000 US to set up on these big e-commerce platforms to have all this data, to have all this operation. So it's not as simple as on Amazon in 2 clicks, and then I can sell internationally to anyone, everyone.
Right.
It's a bit more complicated because you drop ship from overseas, right? So cross-check, is there demand for your product? For example, are there daigous? Are there some people that actually already sell your product in China by coming from Brazil and bringing this product into the China market and basically selling it for 5 times the price? If there is demand, then go for this model. If there's no demand yet, then do it either by downlining. Downlining, it means you find an online distributor and they have all these bloggers that are going to promote this product on your behalf, and you
Right.
are probably only going to get 10 or 20% of your retail price, because all these other guys are going to take commission, but they're going to sell on your behalf, and you don't need to have a physical kind of setup. Or you find specific, let's say, live streaming or whatever bloggers, and you have an individual arrangement with them where you pay them for live stream and you pay them a certain portion of commission. How much is the commission? Between 25 to 50%, depending on your product, the price, and the blogger. So, but after you do that, you preheat the market and you see the demand. Once you see it moving, then it will be the right time to register your own platforms and actually start managing. You need to build your China team, or you need to have the partners, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah.
So, and let me know about a bit more about this blogger. The blogger is part of the platform. You can contract this blogger as a freelancer, or there's like an e-commerce for bloggers. I would like to hire this one to this product and this one for that other product. How does it work?
Absolutely. So depending on the platform, there are other different arrangements. For example, if we talk about right.
Or I bring my own blogger, or I'm the blogger,
Right. So again, depending on the platform. For example, if you go to Taobao, in order to be a registered blogger on Taobao, you essentially need to register within the system. And then you can go Taobao Live, do Taobao Live. And if I want to hire some people, I go to a special tab which calls, Taobao Live broadcasters. And there are many lists of people that are just there providing their services. And there are also some people that are recommended by the platform because they have real traffic. They don't have that many fakes. They've been doing it for a while, So basically, then I choose a category where I want to do live streaming or live broadcasting. And then I contact the blogger directly. So how does it work? I negotiate everything with the blogger and I pay the blogger. But the blogger's responsibility is to give a portion of that earning. Sometimes it is 10%, sometimes it is 30%. It depends. Sometimes it's nothing, but they pay very big commission on sale to the platform. So it really depends on the platform. So it's blogger's job to then take a portion of that money and give it to the platform. So that's how it works. In some platforms and in some instances, for example, with Douyin, previously you had to be, so Douyin is a Chinese TikTok. Previously you had to be registered and all of your transactions would come through Douyin. So Douyin would be like the management company of all the bloggers itself. But right now they allow people to do their own thing because they want to attract more creators. So you can come to a Douyin blogger and say, hey, I'm going to pay you X amount of money every month. And I want you to create, 10 videos about me a month. And, when we do that, this is the amount of money I'm paying you. Plus we're going to share sales in this breakdown. Let's say 30% for you, 70% for me. So you can also do that.
A partner, right?
Like a partner. But you need to be careful. I want to mention here that a lot of companies in the West, they look at a blogger as a channel and they want to just sell through that channel. In China, you need to realize that if the blogger is really, really successful with their audience, if the blogger is already popular, they don't need you. They can create their own brand in no time. They can start manufacturing clothing line, cosmetics line, stationery line, whatever else. Within 4 days, they can put branding and they can start selling. So very often, big and successful bloggers ask a question: why will I be helping you sell the products when I can create my own stuff and sell these products to my audience? So that is where you need to understand the different tiers of bloggers, the small one, medium, and big one. And you need to understand why these big bloggers are charging so much money, because their opportunity cost is to just go and sell their own product and make a lot more money. So that's where I think the disconnect with the West and the way it's perceived in the West is.
Really nice. I was thinking this blog, all of these bloggers was a digital influencer, but now I realize it's not, right?
They're business people. They're kick-ass business people.
Right. Let's talk about some e-commerce. You talk about the platform, but this migration from offline to online to e-commerce has more competitive and also increased this considerable on online platforms. You can feel this on pandemic at this moment?
Absolutely. It has definitely become more competitive. Even though a lot of tech giants actually tried to support people and companies during this uncertain times, for example, by giving some free traffic. So you only pay to reach so many people, but they would give you opportunity to reach so many people. It's definitely becoming very competitive. Previously, it was competitive on the price, right? Because it's expensive to advertise in China. It's probably the most expensive market in the world when it comes to reach and eyeballs, because everybody's targeting Chinese, because it's local competition, it's international competition. But right now, it's a lot more competitive also on the content, because there's so much communication, live stream, videos, pictures, whatever else coming out, that you really need to be good. You cannot really, come in and just pay your way in. You need to be localized. You need to be good for people to notice, and you need to be consistent. So competition is definitely increasing.
Good. So Nelson has one question here about the text. You told something about the text, but he asked this question: How do tax works in China and product delivery fees?
Right. So for taxes in China, I think it's better to consult with the tax lawyer. But in general, government has very clear guidelines. I believe it's 30+% tax, and China has a lot of this special industrial zones where foreign companies can enter. When you represent a certain industry, for example, you are in cosmetics, you are in fruits and vegetables, you are in consulting, etc. So you can enter this special zone in different cities, and you get lower tax rate, and you also can get lower rent, because you're renting from the government buildings and establishments. Why do they do that? Why do they have the special administrative zones? Because they want to attract businesses from overseas to come to China. They also give you, as I said, tax breaks for 3 to 5 years, and they can even give you funding. For example, you are a company in AI or technology. This is something where China wants to develop in. And if you can explain why is your product is really, really cool, they definitely wanted to start in China. So they will give you funding to kickstart your business. They will give you discounts on rent, etc. So, and in terms of tax right now, as I mentioned, it's about specific local government, about the city where you are based. And these cities, they have different tax breaks. So you don't need to pay full tax for this year or the first quarter of 2020 because of the pandemic. Sometimes you don't need to pay your rent if you're renting from government buildings for like 2 to 3 months, etc., etc. And the second question was delivery fees.
Delivery.
Yes. So again, you better check with the supply chain operators. I'm not quite sure what are the delivery fees between Brazil and mainland China, but essentially, if your product is around 1,000 or 2,000 RMB, you can drop ship, which means you can sell cross-border into China directly without registering your business there. If it's a more expensive product, you better check your product category. But essentially, delivery is done rather quickly. I do not know how the situation is right now, but cross-border e-commerce has risen and grown exponentially because people from first tier cities and higher tier cities in China want to buy international, especially during pandemic, especially when we talk about something that falls into health, safety categories, something for babies, something for, for elderly, etc., etc. So cross-border, everybody was really worried. Are people going to buy cross-border? Is the delivery going to be happening quickly? People are buying and the delivery is quick enough. So there are opportunities there. About specific costs, again, cross-check how big is your product, how long will it take, are there any licenses that you specifically need to drop ship to China, and then you will get your answer.
All right. Let me connect another question. We are going to the last 10 minutes here. So you tell something about artificial intelligence. This is growing, starting growing in Brazil, but it's like a baby yet. But how can this business, this AI can help on business and digital marketing, like Google Ads, for example? How can customers get more results with AI or other tools? How AI is working on China at the moment?
Right. So in China, the ecosystem is already very developed, and you need to understand that the technology, AI technology, it's not new. It's been there since 60s, 70s, 80s, etc., etc. But what's unique right now is the fact that China is truly implementing all that. So it's no longer theory. It's really been implemented as a part of a smart city, as a part of a smart company, as the part of a smart e-commerce, smart marketing, smart governance, etc., etc. And when you are part of, China digital life, you actually see AI tools everywhere. So how does AI, how to leverage AI from business perspective? First of all, of course, let's say finding your audience. What's really, really good about Chinese digital ecosystems is that they segment the audience very neatly, and they are able to give you your profile, and they are able, for example, even if you are a small shop in city A, and you are selling Coca-Cola and you are selling chewing gum, they will be able to tell you once you enter, let's say, Alibaba ecosystem, they will be able to tell you, okay, people within your area where you are purchasing Coke and chewing gum from you. But did you know that they also buy a certain brand, and they also like to buy Pepsi, and they also like to buy XYZ? So then you will be able to stock up your shop, not based on what you think people want, but actually based on their consumption. You will be also able to essentially target their user data and collect it, because everything is really about data, and algorithms are becoming much, much smarter the more data you feed it. That's where China is very unique as well, because they have the largest collection of data, the largest database ever in the history of humankind. So their algorithms are very smart. Apart from that,
oh, sorry. Okay, keep going.
Apart from that, you can predict consumer behavior. You can create content. At the same time, with the use of AI, apart from business standpoint, the cities are becoming extremely smart. So you can, for example, in China, very often you don't really need to get the parking ticket. For example, in Shenzhen, you just drop your car, and on the side of the car, there are those little beacons, and you dropped your car here. So it will automatically communicate with your car. So the beacon from the city communicates with your car, and they know that this car belongs to the person with this WeChat account, and they will charge your parking fee from your WeChat wallet automatically. And people still ask me, is this the future? I said, no, this is Shenzhen 2020. It's happening right now. And this is powered by smart city AI. So talking about, let's say, traveling, right? China is a big country, 1.4 billion people. And this year we're going to see Chinese obviously traveling internationally a lot less than before, but they will travel domestically. So how does the government control this domestic flow of people back and forth? They use AI algorithms to schedule trains, to schedule traveling routes, to monitor all that, which is being very, very successful. During the pandemic, in some of the big cities in Beijing and Shanghai, they actually optimized the train delivery schedule and arrival schedule based on AI, so that there will be more trains, less waiting time, and there will be fewer people in the cabin at all times. And it was very, very successful, and people absolutely loved it. So again, it was not just a guess, it was a system that was utilized for that.
So the AI can deliver a huge user experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice, really nice. Here's starting something like that, but it's not just they starting like paying by phone. This is starting here last year. This technology in Brazil. but
well, in China,
that,
but it's good. You need to start with something. In China, we've been paying by phone for the past, I would say 3-4 years. Right now, and basically, I remember that when I just got to mainland China, which was, let's say 15-14 years ago, everything was cash. And then everything became basically, we never really used credit cards, so credit cards were never big here. Then everything became WeChat. Yeah, you just pay via WeChat Pay or Alipay. And then later on, it moved to this, facial recognition. So right now, very often you come even to the small store to buy Coca-Cola or chewing gum, and then there is this machine, and then you come to this machine and you just look with your face into this machine, and that's it, you're checked out. Some big supermarkets, they even have contactless, like seamless checkout, where you just walk through pass through the wall. So there is a wall next to you. So you just walk next to it and you carry the products with you that you want to buy. And it recognizes what are these products. And it also recognizes your face. So you don't need to, tap anything and stand there. It just instantly checks you out within like 3 seconds, which is really, really cool. So guys, this is coming your way very soon.
Yeah, maybe very soon. Here, the supermarket have some machine you can do it by yourself. Just beep, no. But starting this almost last year as well. I believe we're going on this way. So this experience, there's someone asking about someone is Felipe. Felipe has a question. We have just the few minutes here, but it's a question just to finish this. Then I have a last one for you. So has any company in China completely left the offline market and is now online?
Absolutely. There are companies that did that. I need to check for specific names, but I am absolutely sure that there are companies that had to let some of their employees go, had to let some of their rent go, and they just moved 100% into the digital operation during this time. I would say these are some probably smaller brands, something that manufactures something that's personalized. Also, a lot of services probably moved purely online. For instance, on, again, Taobao, you can purchase a service of manicure, pedicure, or facial, or whatever else. And these people are essentially providing, the service coming to you, but they don't have a salon anymore, right? So they don't. So basically, they move their operation and sales into being mobile and providing a service. So I'm sure that there are companies that purely abandoned that model, but are there many of them? No. Why? Because in China, it's still been a market where people are very suspicious. They want to see and touch, and they want to physically interact with you. So even if you are a brand of anything, iPhones or clothing, if you go into this market, doesn't matter whether you are a Chinese company or international company, people don't just want to see you digitally and to have this digital presence, but they also want to have an opportunity to see and feel and touch. That is why the pop-up stores are so popular, where you go into a city in Shanghai and you open a small little pop-up store in a department store. So people see you both online and offline, and it doesn't need to be there long term, but people know that you're real. That is why people also like live streaming so much. For example, live streaming from the farms, because it's not just, I don't know where your apples are coming from, but if you're live streaming and you're showing me, hey guys, that's me, that's Ashley, and I have this apple farm, and now I'm going to take you, show you around, and I'm actually going to, here are the apples, and this is apple. I'm going to write something on this apple, and I'm going to ship you a box of apples, and they're going to arrive. You know that I'm real. So market is still being suspicious of purely online businesses, and people prefer to have this offline interaction. Some businesses are going purely online, but that's the minority. But let's see how 2020 and the rest of 2021 develops. Maybe there are new opportunities and purely online first businesses as well.
Yeah, I believe this is going to change. It's going to be more and more things online. So just the last question I would like to, we have just a few minutes to this question, the last one. And I would like to, your tips for, can you give some tips for our entrepreneurs here in Brazil at this moment? And how long do you believe this will back to normal? What do you think? Your tip in this time?
Right. Well, again, I'm not a medical professional, so unfortunately, I cannot give predictions on when this is going to be over. I personally feel, from the business standpoint, that we are probably going to have some sort of new readjusted reality for the rest of 2020 and probably early into 2021. So if we are looking at when is the normal, like it was before pandemic, going to return, I think it's definitely within 2021 or beyond that. And it's very likely that the whole world is going to operate slightly differently after the pandemic. Now, in terms of the tips for you guys, so what we've learned here in China and in our part of the world is that it's extremely important right now to, first of all, have the appropriate mindset. And this is the positive mindset. In times of crisis, people want to follow leaders, and nobody wants to follow a pessimistic leader. So that is why it is your responsibility to train your mindset, to work on your fears, on your limiting beliefs, on your, pain points, to keep this optimistic outlook, but it needs to be calculated optimism. Okay, so this is your responsibility. The second thing that we've learned is that you need to stay flexible, like with those business models. Stay flexible with the delivery, stay flexible with the customers. Just ask yourself a question: how can I serve? How can I resolve a problem? How can I do it better? Ask yourself, how has the journeys of your customers changed? Yeah, the journey changed. How can I leverage it? How can I be a part of this new journey, right? The consumer journey or whatever. Ask yourself those questions. Believe me, they have changed. Believe me, the values have changed. The way people buy, the way people that all changed. So you basically revise that. And number 3, I would say, expand into more business models. In China, already for the past 2 years, we're talking about 7 business models. So if you're launching a new business, a lot of investors are asking, what are your 7 business models? And I know that a lot of people go like, shoot, I only have 1. I've got no idea what you're talking about. Well, it's
Just
not
one is
enough
hard. Yeah.
for 2020. It's not enough to just have 1 business model. Where are you selling? What other products? Do you have add-on services? All these different business models. For me, for example, I have, for instance, a marketing agency. That's 1 business model. Clients come, they have problems in China. We help them to actually do it. Then I have another business model, education. Clients come, but they already have their agency. They already have their team. So we come in, we do training. Then I have another business model. I have a subscription. People learn about China and, they want to pay very, very little money, but to stay on top. So we have a subscription group. That's another business model. Then I published books, and these books are sold on Amazon. Very little money, and I'm not selling it for money. It's primarily for branding and educating the industry. But that's another business model. So don't overthink it. Don't think that you need to have 7 businesses. You need to have your core, and then you need to have 7 business models around it. And the final tip is that right now is the time to step up as a thought leader, not just as a leader to your team, but as a thought leader. Start putting out content online. Start becoming a voice in your industry. There's never going to be more ears, more eyes. It will never be cheaper than right now, because it's going to be becoming more and more expensive. And if you build your thought leadership, if you build your voice right now, Nobody can ever take it away from you. Your business will always thrive. And don't do it for your company. Nobody wants to follow brands. Everybody wants to follow real people. So you've got so many opportunities here to be on camera, to have interviews, to start sharing your voice, to start recording videos, to reinvent business models, to work on your mindset, to blah, blah, blah. This is a really good time. And the final thing that I would like to leave you with is really ask yourself a question. And the question is, why was this crisis given to me?
Good.
We know why it was given to the world, right? We were probably negligent, compared to our nature, and we were not very nice to each other and whatever else. So this is a philosophical question, but direct your focus there. Why was it given to you? Maybe you needed more time to invest in digitalization. Maybe you needed time, I do not know, off and stay at home and spend more time with your family. Maybe you needed time to actually become, not just think about being a thought leader, but actually do it. Ask yourself that question. Focus your mind. Why was this crisis given to me right now? And you will come up with answers and act on them, because this is, again, a phenomenal opportunity, and don't waste it.
All right, it's a perfect tip. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being with us. I would like to thank for our team as well, and for your team. Natalia help us. Abel here translate for us. Aline is online here putting all on the backstage, and Felipe for our team as well. Thank you so much. And these tips, I think this will help the Brazilian guys to grow and change this mind. Like, think positive and do something good to you, to your company, and to other people as well. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. And guys, go get them in Brazil. We're rooting for you, and it will pass soon, and you're going to come out only stronger and better out of it.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.